It's amazing we have this much fire coming out of that gap in the clouds. It makes me so happy that we have pilgrims here enjoying this moment. That's Pastor Mike from yesterday. Look at the darkness up there, the stormy conditions. I think it's even raining over there actually. Look at that. And then we swing around here. We got to see some more of that sun because it's going to be gobbled up by the cloud. People out doing their prayer in the morning here. In a way, a paradise for prayer. And the disciples found Jesus in a lonely spot in the morning. Tiberius. Sometimes life is very cloudy and there are breaks of light that come through to renew our hope, to renew our serenity. This is a couple from California. It's just wonderful to have people from many places around here. There they are getting their pictures. And there's more rain coming here, look at this. We're dry right now, isn't that lovely? To be able to be out on this fresh morning, connecting everybody here. And there's a young fellow going out looking for two lost donkeys. Our donkey never got lost that way. But here there's a wild open countryside, so the possibility in Ireland, all the farms are walled and sometimes an animal can go lost. It's a possibility. And that's part of the story, and it has an echo later on. Saul is in the task of finding a lost donkeys for his dad. And that's going to be the occasion of him meeting Samuel, the prophet, who will tell him that he's anointed king of Israel. It's amazing. And he calls himself the meanest and lowest of the families of the area and of the section of the tribe. And that's how God chooses. I'm sure those passages meant a lot to Jesus when he was hearing the stories of his people as a child. And I can imagine Mary and Joseph telling those stories, and they saw donkeys, and that Saul was from the lowest of the tribe, and yet God chose him. See, a lot of Jesus' stories are already part of the lore of his people. They know these stories, they know these principles, they know how God is working. My father was a wandering Aramean. God doesn't need our might In fact, we don't have any might that he doesn't give us. And there in the psalm we have, in your strength, the king is glad. In your strength, the king is glad. Not in our strength. Okay, we'll be thankful for the strength we have, but we know that it's his strength. This is a very necessary and key humility in the human being. It's the great gift that the believer has, that we're taking out of the burden of having to be our own strength. We turn to God for strength. In your strength, the king is glad. Imagine the king is like the one with the greatest strength in town, in the country, in the whole region. The king, you know. But in your strength, the king is glad. Imagine the king of hockey, the king of rock, the king of any sport, of any talent, the king of piano, the king of dance, or the queen for that matter. You know. In your beauty, the queen is beautiful. Because where did her beauty come from? And then the whole unhealthy nature of vanity and of boasting. Hey, there's our famous heron, faithfully there, perched. We didn't see him for a while. All curled up in the chillier temperatures. Right there on top of that bush in the center of the screen, you see? There's that heron. That guy's a big long neck. It is all, he doesn't want it to be cooled off. And the other two, I'm not sure if they're cormorants. I think they're cormorants. In your strength, the king is glad. Where are you glad? You got so much money in the bank. But then something miserable could happen to the economy. Oh, look at this. Look at the sun shining on this hill. How did the sun get there? Isn't that amazing? Imagine the sun that was shining down that morning of grace when Samuel was meeting Saul. And not to mention the moment of grace when Jesus was up there meeting the multitudes and healing. That's just above the Mount of Beatitudes. Isn't that marvelous? So there's some hole there. Let's trace it. Look, let's go back here. You see, let's go. You see there? That's where the light's coming through. So the sun is totally clear and totally visible. And it's lighting up a whole strip there towards the Mount of Beatitudes. Let's go in there again. How marvelous. Wow, it's a whole strip. It's also going alongside the lake. Watch that. Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful to be over there? Look at that light. It's like when you shine a torch. It's marvelous. I don't think I've seen that type of phenomenon so much. I hope somebody over there gets a good picture. Maybe at Domus Galilea. I'm not sure if they're lined up for that. In your strength, the king is glad. And then we swing over here again to Capernaum where all that light is shining, and that's where actually you can see Capernaum here. Here we have this pastor. Now let's go over here. Okay, you see that white spot there? That's Capernaum, and at the water level. That's the Orthodox church where we were the other day. And that's where Matthew is today, sitting at the tax collector's desk. And Jesus shows up. Come follow me. The unlikely ones. Imagine Simon the Zealot, what he would think of having Matthew and the team. Simon the Zealot was totally against the Romans. he was part of the political movement that was going to rebel against the Romans. And Jesus bring in this Matthew, this tax collector that's working for the Romans and the Herodians. Jesus, you got to be kind of out of your mind. And you could say, Jesus, you got to be out of your mind that you're taking, oh no, all that light's gone, look at that. And that's one of the reasons why we need to rejoice in the strength the Lord gives, in the light the Lord gives, because the light on this earth and the strengths on this earth and the powers of this earth fade, and they fade quickly. They're there, they flourish for a moment, and they're gone. And our heart longs for the eternal, for the realities that don't end, for the life that doesn't end. And at some point Matthew must be satiated with all that he does have, and he realizes that his power is very fragile as a tax collector. I don't know if you're watching the Chosen series, but Matthew is, I have to do a lot of catching up, but Matthew is, he's very kind of nervous with his eyes. He's checking everything, and he's in a very fragile position because he knows he could be attacked. He has a Roman soldier protecting him. Now the rain is getting closer over here. It's raining there. But that's not coming this direction. It doesn't usually. But Matthew gets up and follows him, and then has a party for Jesus. Isn't it great when we have that moment of flourishing, like Matthew has now spiritually? He goes out and he does his apostolate. He'll go on to write a gospel. But eventually he will also die. His time will be up. Basically, that's what's happening with Samuel. Samuel's time is up, but he's preparing the next generation. He's anointing Saul king, so that God's work will continue with his people. And we're there today, each one of us in our families. When we go to the supermarket, when you're at the hairdresser. I don't have to go to a hairdresser because Father Salvador cuts our hair. Wherever you go, you're bringing the light of God. And time will come when we'll be on our bed and we can't move too much, and people are going to be serving us and taking care of us if our final days aren't spent in a different way. But we still flourish there because our faith can be strong, and our hope can be strong, and our love can be strong, and the family can be very blessed by a failing parent or grandparent whose life is ebbing away. But that person's strength, in your strength the king is glad. That line from the psalm today has really caught my attention. It's worth reading the chapters around the snippets there in Samuel's story. It's very interesting how they're going to look for the seer, like a prophet, to see if they can get information about the donkey. And it's in that context that Saul meets Samuel. And then we remember another king in Jerusalem, and he sends his disciples to go and get a donkey. And he rides the donkey into Jerusalem. It has a lot of history, kings and donkeys. It's almost funny, God's sense of humor. And then that will come out in the Magnificat. He raises the humble, and the self-exalted come down a peg pretty quickly. I think we've got a bit to chew on there, people. And grace to ask for, and to rejoice in God, in the strength God gives me. To be glad for His blessings today. What a way to live in a family, to teach that. I remember when we were coming back from school, my dad picked us up after the intermediate certificate examinations, 1972. And my mom wanted my dad to have that chance to be the first one to find out how the exams went. It was the first time we did like serious exams. And Dad went to pick us up from the bus stop, which is about a mile and a half away maybe from home. And we were blessed to have good grades. And when our younger siblings were spouting out the results we got, my sister Carmel and myself, the first thing my dad said was, we need to thank God. The impact a parent can have on the lives of children. And that was something that was very, like, almost at that point co-natural to my dad. That sense of dependency on God, that sense of being recipients of blessing, of His gifts, of His strengths. Things weren't really ours, they were given to us by God. Lord, in your strength the King is glad. Let's leave it like that for today, people. I wish you many blessings today here from the Sea of Galilee. And wherever it's raining or sunshine in your area, God's light is always reaching you. See you later, alligators.